Hi and welcome. We're so glad to be here today. We're excited to be keynoting the National Conference on Career Guidance. And today's title is Building the Essential Foundations of Career Development. I'm so honored to be here today with my colleague, Tchorzynski. And I'm so proud of the fact that I've been asked back by Kevin. Kevin, Maggie, and Mercy, we had a call the other day, and we're so excited to hear all the wonderful things that are happening in Kenya. Since I visited last, a lot has changed for me too. You see a picture of me as a first grader going to school. Who knew when I first started first grade at my Catholic school that someday I would be meeting with leaders in Kenya on education and school counseling? I had no idea that's where my path would lead me. Terri, let's talk about your path and where it led you.
Yeah, hello everyone. As Trish said, my name is Terri Tchorzynski, and just like Trish, never in a million years would this high school softball player ever imagine that at one time in my career, I would be introducing Mrs. Michelle Obama at the White House in representing school counselors across the nation. And so we wanted to show these pictures a little bit just to kind of get reference as to what our journey looks like. And I want all of you to think about that for a moment and think about, what does your journey look like? When you started as a young boy or as a young girl, what were the things in your life that transformed who you became into who you are now? And when you think about that journey or that transformation, there are many career development models out there, but most of them will say this exact journey, that you start with the idea of self-awareness. Who are you as a person, what your interests are, and then you start exploring what it is that you enjoy and what your passion is. And then there's a little bit of self-assessment as to what skills do I have that align to those ideas or those careers? What interests do I have? And then we begin setting goals and then actually taking action to complete and hopefully obtain the career that you're looking for. So that's just a little bit about our journey. And we're definitely going to talk more about what that transformation looks like throughout our time with you today.
Before we begin, I just want to share a picture of the last time that I was there. And I was so happy to see this sign at the high school. It said guidance and counseling. And I said, oh, great, we have school counselors. Well, I knew at the time we actually didn't, but it was so nice to see the guidance and counseling sign, because we realize how important that is to Kenya for the students you serve, and that we want to make sure every student has access to a school counselor. We know that you're not there yet, but I would ask the question, what infrastructures are in place so that every student, each and every student, like the students we visited here at this beautiful school, has the opportunity to have their dreams and their goals and their self-assessment turn into the future that they want to see for themselves? When I was in Kenya with our team that came, we learned from the students that there's a lot of pressure around single testing and how that contributes to determining their future college or career options. But what if instead students had the opportunity for more self-awareness, career exploration, self-assessment, goal setting, and made action plans? What if instead of feeling that they don't have a lot of choice, that there were many choices and all options were there for them? What if students felt less stressed or less stigmatized by low test scores and felt more optimistic, and that there was less stigma around how they scored, but more focus on how they can contribute to society in a way that they personally felt was a good fit for them? As we think also about the economic impact, we know that some professions right now do not attract the A students, particularly education, and how important is that? But what if students could choose their profession based on their skills, their ability, their talent? What might happen to the economy if students with A's went into multiple fields and were able to contribute that way? How might that assist? Well, career development, we're speaking to you from the United States, but let me first and foremost tell you, we don't have it all together over here. We started this conversation many years ago, like back in 1889, when Jesse B. Davis introduced the first guidance program of record. And what happened was that teachers taught guidance as a part of their regular class. Then in 1907, Frank Parsons, who was the father of guidance, created the first methodology of career guidance, where teachers became vocational counselors. They actually came out of their classroom and began to do this work outside the classroom. In 1919, the Vocational Guidance Association was founded. And then lots of things happened between then and 58, like the Depression and other things. So we know that counselors at that time began to do mental health and academic support. But in 1958, the National Defense Education Act, which was really built around beating the Russians at the space race, led to the United States hiring more school counselors, like doubling the number that they ever had so that they could basically send the best and the brightest off to college as though those were the only students that mattered. But we know that's not true and not right. We know that all students should have the opportunity to reach their full potential wherever they want to go to school. And so in 1990, the Carl Perkins Act came out. Terri, tell us more about that and your passion for CTE, because actually we didn't mention this yet, but Terri, would you please tell them the position you hold right now?
Yeah, so I'm honored to be able to hold a position as an advisory member for the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Career and Technical Education. So in my school counseling careers, I definitely spent a lot of time and focus around college readiness and career development. So definitely my passion. And to Trish's statement earlier in regards to making sure that all students are getting what they deserve and need and exploring all those different pathways, I truly believe that to the bottom of my heart. And that's why I'm so excited to say that even in 1990, out of all the evolutions that we started to make through our timeline, 1990 was pivotal in the fact that there were some amendments that were done to the Charles D. Perkins original act of 1984. And in that act, there was assurance of equity and access, because we started talking about what does post-secondary alignment look like? What does academic integration look like? And what does business and industry partnerships look like? So when we start to think about what pathways in which we would like to direct our students that will help prepare them for their future careers, we were very integral to include every single one of those pieces so that we were meeting the needs of all students and not just the ones that were college bound as mentioned in the 1950s. So pivotal moment for us and making sure that transformational change occurred. And when you think about career development, just like our history has kind of transformed over time, the idea of career development is that's a process that's always evolving. We're always learning and we're always improving new skills. So talking to our students about what does career development look like, it's preparation for the job that you are about to do or you're preparing to do, as well as jobs in the future, that advancement of careers and becoming a lifelong learner. So to speak a little bit more about Perkins and the evolution of that and the impact that it's had here in the United States, just recently in 2019, we overcame another amendment or a change, and that was in Perkins V. So all the key objectives are listed here, but just to highlight a couple that have really made insurmountable changes for us in career development. The first one is aligning programs to labor market needs, ensuring that we were offering programs that actually met the business and industry needs of our states was critical in making sure that our students were feeding into those systems. There are a lot of other ones here, but I also want to make sure that I highlight the one in the bottom right-hand corner is expanding guidance and counseling. People had recognized at state and federal levels that our school counselors were going to be the ones that were trained to be able to provide the support that students needed to get into the career pathways of choice. So now we're going to talk a little bit about some critical infrastructures to support this. What are some things that we have here in the United States that's really helped bring this work along? And in doing that, we want to talk about some associations and some national organizations. There's a lot of resources and policies out there that are developed through our national organizations and associations that have really helped drive this work. So just to name a couple, we have ACTE, which is the Association of Career and Technical Education. This is a national association that's designed specifically for educators and practitioners on the ground to provide them with the resources that they need to make sure that they're providing career development opportunities for students. So very cutting edge resources in which practitioners can access. Advanced CTE is another organization that is consisted of state leaders and representatives, and they're the ones that are working on what policies do we need, what type of resources are we needed, what type of directors and leadership do we need to make these change happen around career development. So they're very cutting edge and making sure that they're staying on top of what the needs are of the practitioners. And the last one I'm going to talk about is the National College Attainment Network, or which is better known as NCAN here in the States. And that consists of non-credentialed college advisors that work alongside our counselors to make sure that the pertinent information is being delivered so that students are getting the support that they need from both the college access advisors as well as the school counselors so they can make a well-informed choice into what their post-secondary plans are. Trish, you want to talk about some of the others?
I do. Yeah, the American School Counseling Association supports our school counselors who provide academic, personal, social, and college and career readiness for all students. The National Association for College Admission Counseling is a group of counselors at the college level who help support school counselors at the K-12 level, and also certain counselors at K-12 who are very focused on specializing in college admission processes. And finally, there's a guide here, the High School Counselor's Guide, that was put out by the College Board in collaboration with the American School Counseling Association, that's been very helpful to teach counselors how to support college and career readiness at all levels, actually, K through 12. You know, in the United States, we are still a work in progress. And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. By the way, I remember the great food I had when I was there. This is what reminds me of that. Maybe someday when we come back, we will have those opportunities to feast again with you. But there are many cooks in the kitchen here, multiple providers. You have credentialed school counselors, credentialed and non-credentialed career counselors, academic coaches who tend to not be credentialed, and college advisors who sometimes are even college students advising high school students. There's a lot of people trying to support students. So what we need to have in place are appropriate systems where everyone knows their appropriate role. And we do this by having policies, frameworks, metrics, certification, and researching what works and what doesn't. I also want to say that Kenya also has a rich history. This is a collection of the books that I was reviewing, and many of them I brought home with me and was so happy to share them with my graduate students. We know that you're working in this area also, training around career guidance, changing your system now between primary, middle, and high school, and putting more focus on CTE as well. So as you're moving forward, we want to learn from each other. And it's the best way to do this is to begin by building your internal all-star team. Here's a picture of the basketball team from the last time I was there. And they brought in, of course, all of the all-stars to play because they were competing against other countries. And in the same way, you want to bring in your all-star team, your site-based team, your advisory, business and industry, post-secondary, and community partners. Everyone should be part of this team because all of the voices matter. And we know that preparing for college is super important. We want to make sure that every student has all opportunities to go to post-secondary should they choose to. And we know that college graduates have a higher percentage of job opportunities than non-graduates. And so we really want to promote college. But we also know that for some, college will not be enough unless they have certifications in particular areas. Terri, take it away.
All right. So as Trish had mentioned, obviously post-secondary and college attainment is definitely important, but also we want to make sure that we're mindful of the data. We always like to look at the data to see how many of our students are actually obtaining bachelor's levels degree or higher, and what certifications may they need if they're not pursuing that route. And so here's a quick data metrics in regards to percentages broken down about where the American students end up going from ages 25 to 64. And as you see here, anything that's past a high school level degree is about 51% attainment, with 21% of that obtaining a bachelor's level degree. So what we want to make sure that we're happening is that for those students who are currently going on to pursue a bachelor's level degree, that they're actually completing. So as a school counselor, I would always talk about building bridges. I'm always trying to scaffold and build bridges so that my students can continue on the pathway they had started. And so again, going back to the idea of being a lifelong learner, we started to introduce careers or pathways that had career trajectory, meaning they may start in high school and be a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. And from there, they might go on to earn a two-year degree with their LPN, a four-year degree with their RN or BSN, and eventually maybe move on to advanced practice. But the idea was, if we started them early, if they understood what career pathway they wanted to pursue when they were in high school, we could start with those early bridges that then would continue. And what we had found and what the research says, when the bridges started, the opportunity for it to be completed and actually have degree attainment is higher. So thinking about stackable information IT credentials, what type of credentials can you offer? And thinking about programs of study that spans across all career clusters. So when you think about the national career clusters that are listed here, are there programs of study, meaning education that starts early on in high school that will continue to evolve into hopefully at least certifications, bachelor's level degrees, or higher? So we want to show you a couple of examples of what this looks like for resources maybe later, but looking at in high school, earning some college credentials, and then moving on, building the certifications that will eventually lead to a bachelor's of science. Here's another example in regards to the machining and technology field. Again, starting in high school, already starting to build that bridge, transitioning into certificate level programs, into 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees. And then the whole time we're talking about these programs of study and how do we develop them, we're talking about earning potential. If a student were to stop at any of these moments along the bridge, here's their potential earnings. that they would acquire from those careers. So thinking about, again, what does the bridge look like? What could that bridge look like in Kenya? And maybe using some examples like this to have students start early on so that they're more likely to finish later on. And that is really, really difficult to actually follow through if it only starts in high school. The idea of a K through 12 kindergarten, or even PK through 12 system of career development is critical in making sure that the success happens in high school. So thinking about in elementary, where they're primary grades, where we're developing that awareness of personal skills, what are the students interested in, and then taking that interest and having it transform into exploration, where students are actually then starting to do some course planning and some goal setting in regards to what their career is going to be. So by the time they get to high school, they can actually set forth and set those action plans in place. And I always say they can touch it, feel it, and do it, experience it, so that they're well on their pathway in regards to following those post-secondary paths. So the stronger the development is here in that K through 8 system, the more likely that those students are to be prepared and persist and complete the post-secondary pathways that they're aspiring to. So again, some more examples. We know we don't have a lot of time with all of you today, so we wanted to give you a lot of visuals. So here's an example out of Colorado that talks about what the transition looks like, that we start early where we're learning about work through different avenues like career counseling and planning. And then from there, we start to transition into real life experiences where they're touching, feeling it, and doing it. So that way, when they transition into the world of work, they're more successful. So thinking about your own pathway and where does it start for students and how does it continue after graduation? There are other things that have helped with this in regards to the planning process of it. So here in the States, we have something called individual learning plans. As you see here, they're called a lot of different things in different states, like 4-year plans, 7-year plans. But the idea is that early on, middle school level grades, at least 6th grade, 7th grade, students are already putting their plan in place in regards to what they would like to be when they grow up, what they aspire to be, what future careers hold for them, and already starting putting the scaffolds in place to get there. So by the time they do get to high school, those bridges are starting to be built. There are student-centered online platforms that help with this. So we do have systems of technology that help with that planning. So that way, not only can school counselors be part of those critical conversations, but students can also help to lead the work. So there are programs such as Zello that has the examples here that talks about what are all the different careers that you can aspire to and how do they match your skills, your interests, and your passion. And there are many others as listed here, like Naviance and UScience and ONET. But they're all great exploration tools that really gets that journey in place for students so they can make informed choices. We want them to make informed choices that align with their skills, their interests, and their purpose. When we're talking about what it is that they need and what we need to equip them with as educators and school counselors, we need to think about what type of employability skills are in place, or are we teaching so that we are preparing them for the world of work. So as you look at this visual here that comes from one of our national associations, these are the top skills that our employers have said that they need. So as they're listed here as educators, we need to think to ourselves, what opportunities do we have, some are listed here, that will help build this development of these skills? Because if the employers are saying they need things such as teamwork, collaboration, communication, ethics, and social responsibility, it is our responsibility as educators to make sure that we are providing them with the education through different systems to learn those skills. Here's some examples, again, more examples you could take with you. These are called graduation profiles or portraits of a graduate, where high schools are saying when a student leaves our building, because we put so much emphasis on these employability skills, we can say with confidence that our students not only graduate with the academic skills that they need, but they are also graduating with the employability skills that our employers are asking for. And of course, going back to data, if you know Trish and anything about Hatchery results, we love to talk data. So we can't talk career development without talking data. And if you are not looking or building or developing accountability systems to measure the career readiness, then we really are missing a large part of the picture. So using systems such as National Student Clearinghouse that tells us how many of our students are actually going on to a post-secondary institution and how many are actually completing is just as important. We want to know how many of our students complete with associate's level degree, bachelor's level degree, or higher. And of course, other realms of data that we're looking at, labor market needs and trends. What are our employers in specific areas asking for? What do they need? What are the employability rates? And do we have programs that align to that? So thinking about what data systems you can use will be a large part of making sure that we're setting our students up for success.
You know, Terri, having an equitable and accessible future for every student in Kenya is the purpose of this. You are here today at this conference because you believe, as we do, that we must ask ourselves, how do we make sure all students have access to what they deserve to receive, their opportunities, their education, scholarship, work-based learning, so that we have not just equality, equity, no, liberation, that they don't feel like they're behind any, my phone's ringing, that's lovely, life. And so that every student has the opportunity and that no student has a barrier to their opportunity. We want to make sure that your road to career development transformation includes the opportunity for every student to have choices, options. A little stress is okay, but not too much stress. Let's remove the stigmas. Let's help students choose the professions they want. Let's help them feel good about themselves, knowing that they have chosen a profession that they want to excel at and they want to contribute to. We want to develop the necessary infrastructure so that all students, look at those children in those seats. Every one of those children deserves a career development program that lets them reach their full potential to contribute to themselves, their family, their village, their society, and the future for all of us. Thank you so much, Terri, for your contributions. Thank you, Kevin, and everyone for asking us. And look for us tomorrow where we come in with part 2. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.